Welcome. In this video we're gonna have a tier list of UFC strikers, and I just have seen so many tier lists that are done by YouTubers that simply are just so bad, because these guys have never fought, these guys have never done any kind of sparring in their life, and they feel like they are still precise when they are saying, oh, this guy has an S level striking and this guy has a bad striking. In reality, sometimes some things that look flashy do not really work that much, and sometimes some techniques might not look very good, very clean, but yet still they are just so damn effective. So let's begin. And we're gonna be beginning with Moreno, and the B level would be average, A would be good, S would be best, D would be the worst, and C would be below average. Moreno, I would put his striking in a low A tier. Even though I do not think that he is that good of a striker, I'm gonna rate his overall ability, which means that he just has such a good endurance and chin that he can maintain a pretty decent level of striking the whole fight. You know, the tempo will be high, and those boxing 1-2 jab cross, they will just stay technically sound for the rest of the fight. And he's striking, and he does not have that much power. He's quite precise, but he does not have that special abilities in a way that he doesn't have any kind of deft touch. He cannot just hit you in one hit and just knock you out. He's more of a volume striker, and that's not necessarily a positive thing, in a way that it is of course a bigger advantage when you can be so precise, or when you can be so strong that you can just knock out someone with one punch. That's a completely different level. But because he just has such a good endurance and ability to take punches, he stays on a higher level quite throughout the whole fight. So I would just put him in a low A level. He's definitely not an average striker. The next one, we will take the Leon Edwards, and I would put him actually higher than Brandon Moreno, because Leon Edwards, this man has some of the techniques that just look so damn clean. It just, probably one of his kicks are probably one of the cleanest looking in the whole UFC. But he also has some problems. Even though his boxing is pretty good and he has some power, he's not very durable, so he's scared to go into exchanges, especially boxing exchanges. And when he goes in the boxing exchanges, he quite often still gets hit. So it's not really a fighter that can just knock you out very easily in the first exchange. He's more of a guy who will observe and wait for a moment and then try to knock you out. And that works sometimes, but the problem is he does not have that great of a cardio. He really likes to slow down the fight. He really likes to get rid of the chaos of the fight. He wants to have this very patient, just clean, slow-paced fights, and there he shines. And he does not really have any kind of weaknesses in his striking. He can use everything: elbows, boxing, kicks. Everything works quite well, but he also does not have any kind of special ability. You know, he's just good everywhere. And if you're gonna give him a possibility, yeah, he's gonna knock you out. But it also is a problem that his cardio simply does not allow him to be a better striker, or his chin is simply not good enough, so he will just go in those boxing exchanges where he's gonna be like, yeah, I think I have a better chance to knock you out than you have. So because of that, I would put him in A tier, higher than Moreno. Now we have Charles Oliveira, which I'm actually gonna put here, below these guys, below Moreno and Edwards, because this guy is super dangerous. He has lots of power. He can knock you out with many, many weapons, but he's just defensively simply too chaotic. You know, if you're gonna put him against a guy who's made, like, let's take Islam Makhachev. Islam has a pretty decent striking, but he's not fundamentally a striker. He will always be in a disadvantage compared to the real strikers in terms of the striking, but he still managed to hurt Charles Oliveira while striking. And that is simply something that super high level strikers should be avoiding. And then also we have he just gets dropped so easily. You know, he lifts his chin up high and then people drop him. And yes, most of the times he still somehow manages to win the fights. But a truly great striker should also be able to avoid the situations where he gets dropped, because the difference between getting dropped and getting knocked out is not really that high. So you cannot really measure if you're just gonna get dropped or you're gonna actually get knocked out cold. And if you are letting your opponents to drop you, then it basically means that you're also letting them to knock you out. So this is bad, and it happens very often. If it happened only once or twice, then it's okay. But against Chandler, he gets dropped. Against Poirier, he gets dropped. Gaethje, he gets dropped almost against everybody. And yes, he has a really nice looking knees and clean striking and lots of power, and the way he hit Gaethje and dropped him with a one punch, that was magnificent. But as an overall package, it's not complete at all. Now we take Corey Sandhagen, and I do believe that pound for pound, he's so far the best guy, and he also goes in the A level, a 8-tier list. The problem with Corey Sandhagen is that he doesn't have a power in his boxing, especially. But other than that, this man has a really complete striking. Great kicks. Pretty good boxing. If we're gonna say that, yeah, he does not have that much power, but he has speed, he has precision, he has good timing, he has decent head movement, he has good defense. He does not really give his opponents the possibility to destroy him in those exchanges. He's quite defensively sound, and even when he gets hit, he has such a great cardio and such a great chin that he can withstand those exchanges. And then he also has a couple of signature moves, such as flying knee, which doesn't really work against super high level opponents, but it's still there. You know, there is always that danger that this man might just fly and knee you in your face and you will just go down. Overall, pretty good. If he had more power, if he had better boxing, then he would be better. Why did he lose against Yan? Why was he actually kind of losing against Song Yadong? Because he did not really have that much power in his boxing. If he had, the fight would look different. But overall, he's still very good fighter and the best so far. Who's the next? Let's take Edson Barboza, and this is another fighter that, even though he's super nice to watch, he is just not complete, in a way that he does not have a cardio to enable him to fight for a longer periods of time, and at the same time his chin is questionable. You bring a chaos to this man, you go into boxing exchanges, even his boxing is really crisp and fast and strong, but once you hit him with really decent shots, he tends to buckle. He tends to lose those battles. Gaethje. He was doing so much damage against Gaethje, but afterwards Gaethje just finds one or two decent shots, and then this man simply cannot continue. And even though he has tremendous kicks, just super fast, and even his hands are really good, his boxing is not as good as his kickboxing. But most importantly, because he has such a questionable durability, he might be hitting his opponents harder, but his opponents will hit him maybe 20%, 30% less power shots, but they will still do more damage because he's just not able to endure the punishment. And that's also a part of the striking, in a way that it shows if you can use your striking effectively or not. That's the most important thing. If you have a really good technique, but then you just get tired in 20 seconds, or you cannot take any punishment, does this really mean that you are a great striker? I don't think so. Justin Gaethje. That's a really interesting one. Gaethje is just such a tested and really, really battle-tested man. He has fought simply everyone. He goes here, above Moreno. His advantages: quite durable, pretty good cardio, super strong punches, really powerful. Disadvantages: not very precise, too chaotic, not very defensively sound. Almost every fight he gets hurt. He almost doesn't have that many fights in UFC where he can win without getting also destroyed. And that's not really a sign of being a super striker, It might be fun to watch as a fan, but if you are truly superior than your opponent, then you should also be able to win the fights in a way where your opponent does not really seem to have an ability to hurt you. Where every fight you're almost dying and then you're somehow winning because you're just crazier than your opponent. Yeah, you're great, but that is too risky. He has a couple of really good kicks. I mean, his low kicks are super strong. At the same time, his hands just so damn strong. And we also saw him technical improvements, especially like against Fiziev. Both of these fights, he seemed really damn good. And now we come to Fiziev, where I'm gonna put this man above Edson Barboza. He's a really good one, just super explosive, lots of power. But once again, because his boxing is not so perfect, it's not really on a level where Justin Gaethje and Dustin Poirier is, I cannot put him higher than that. And even Charles Oliveira, though if they fight, I think it would be a really interesting striking match. I still think that Charles has an advantage in a way that he just has so much power. I would not be shocked if he just knocks him out. Yeah. Now we come to, let's go to a higher weight class. And let's begin with Ian Gary. It's funny that we have so many fighters in A list. I want to also put someone in the B list, but this list actually has most of the guys who are super good. So maybe we put Barboza in B. In B list, yeah. B tier. And now we come to the Holloway. Holloway needs to be in A tier list, He just needs to be there. He does not have that much power in the featherweight, but especially his improvements in lightweight, the when he fought against Justin Gaethje, he was hurting Justin Gaethje almost every round. He just had so much increase in his strength and power that he was super dangerous even in those exchanges. And then he's gonna knock out Justin Gaethje completely cold. This man now has power, and not only power, he has super chin and he has super endurance, and he has really good technique. Those spinning kicks, they are super effective. His boxing super effective, his kicks really good. Not on a level Fiziev or Barboza, but super good. Now we come to the O'Malley. And this is the first fighter that I'm gonna put in a S tier list. Why? There are a couple of reasons. Variety. His strikes are just so damn different from each other. He can kick you, he can box you, he can elbow you. He has almost every weapon. Spinning kicks and so on. He can do all of that stuff. And the most important, he's super precise. His timing and his distance management, no one in bantamweight has been as dangerous as him in the striking, ever. Look at his record. He only lost to two guys, Vera and Merab. And even Merab, he hurt Merab in the last rounds. You know, he's almost guaranteed to find a shot that's gonna hurt you. There are not really that many fighters who are so damn dangerous. Even though he has this ugly hair and he has this really bad voice and not very charismatic man, he just can be super dangerous. More dangerous than almost every fighter that we have seen so far. His finish rate speaks for itself, and then his opponents, you know, they were also really good, and he still manages to hurt them. Even the Yan fight, if it was a 5-round fight, I think O'Malley would have a bigger advantage. This man just has zero aura, you know. Nowadays it's a very popular word to say aura. He does not have it. But if you understand striking, you will just realize that Sean O'Malley can beat 90% of the bantamweights just by using his jab cross. Just that. He's so precise, so fast, and he also has a really good mechanics to generate quite a decent power. We come to the O'Malley, and O'Malley will go below Sean. We go come to Yan, and Yan will go below Sean O'Malley. Yan is also super aesthetic to watch. He has lots of power in his punches, in his kicks, but still he's not as dangerous as Sean O'Malley. He does not pose the one punch KO ability that Sean O'Malley has. Look at the fight where Merab fought Sean versus Yan. Merab basically destroyed Yan without giving Yan any single real moment. Against Sean O'Malley, Merab was so much more scared because he knew that this man is simply more dangerous. You know, he just will find you from long distance, just land something on your jaw so precisely that that's gonna be it. And Yan, even though he's super diverse in his striking, super crisp, he has these many quite close fights where he's winning. Let's say Coruscant Hagen fight, Sang Yedong, Figueredo, but those guys also have a pretty decent moments there. And they have these moments because Yan still hits them, but he does not have that precision to knock them out instantly. So he goes below Sean O'Malley. Marlon Vera. Great fighter. I think I would put him actually here, below all of these guys, below Fiziev. He's super durable. He has lots of power in his kicks, in his hands, but the fight IQ just is not there, you know. That's also a part of striking. He's super slow to begin. He has this durability. He has basically all of the tools that he needs to use, but somehow he just stays very patient and very passive. And it's okay to be patient, but you cannot be patient the whole fight. If you're losing, then you cannot be patient anymore. Now you have to push. You have to be aggressive. And he decides to not be an aggressor most of the times. And he waits for some kind of perfect shot, and sometimes those perfect shots present themselves, sometimes they do not. And the problem is that if you realize that, okay, that shot is not there, then now you simply have to be more active. So he just gives away those fights simply by being inactive. Because of that, he goes to the low A tier. Ilya so far goes to the top. Even though this man does not have the striking background, he's one of the most effective strikers that we have ever seen. Simple as that. There are a number of reasons for that. First of all, lack of fear of takedowns and wrestling and grappling. He's just so damn good at wrestling and grappling. He can just feel quite relaxed in that way. He's a BJJ black belt, high level black belt. He has won most of his fights by grappling exchanges and never has been submitted or knocked out. So he has that kind of confidence that most of the fighters do not have. And at the same time, he has a deft touch. It only takes just one exchange. He doesn't need to be perfect, Against Volkanovski, he lost the first round. Against Holloway, he also got hit many times. But you give him a one decent moment where he will hit you hard and your whole perspective will change. He's gonna make you feel the thunder. His hits are just so damn strong that even though you might also hit him, you realize that, wow, if I get hit by that again, it might be game over. It's something unique, it's something special. And he also has a tremendous confidence, and at the same time he has a really good durability, really good chin. I cannot really imagine that someone can just knock him out with a punch so easily. Many people have hit him in his head, but man just does not care. He will take that and hit you harder. And when he hits you harder, then he will knock you out. And not to mention that his technique is actually pretty good. Against Josh Emmett, he was super technical. His defensive skills were amazing. And combine that with lack of fear of the takedowns and wrestling, and also tremendous power and good chin, strong fast hands, and it really just takes one exchange, one good exchange, and you're done. Or if you are not done, now you're scared, Now it's a different fight. Now you felt it, and you feel like this might be it. So he goes to the S tier for sure. Volkanovski. Now, I'm not gonna talk about Prime Volkanovski. I'm gonna actually be reviewing Volkanovski now. And now Volkanovski goes to B tier. Yeah. I do think so. I think that his days are done. I do think that he does not have the same amount of durability that is needed to be a great striker. And I do believe that after those vicious KOs, this man has already taken so much damage that he now can only be an average striker. Even though his technique is there, his speed might be still there, I don't think that he can take punishment anymore. It might be sad, but it's true. Yair Rodriguez goes to B tier also. I would put him now here, high B tier. Flashy, good kicks, decent power, very fast, but fear of takedowns, and also not especially great boxing. If you're gonna put him against a really good boxers in featherweight, he's gonna be exposed, and he has been exposed many times, so that simply does not allow us to put him higher. Dustin Poirier as a striker, I think overall, even nowadays, I would put him here, or maybe even here below Max Holloway. really technical. He has fights where he looks like he's in a control. He also gets hurt, but he's less chaotic than Justin Gage. He's more precise. He's just more in the control, and then there is a certain amount of calmness that he has in his fights, where that, if you're not gonna really grapple with him, and if you're not gonna use your superior grappling, you have not really that high of a chance to beat this man. He's gonna be attacking you with a super crisp, fast, accurate boxing. And those shots, they are not only fast and accurate and volume punches, but they are also super strong. So he can knock you out, and at the same time, even if he doesn't knock you out, he's gonna induce so much damage that he's gonna be winning the fight. Goes to a high 8 here. Israel Adesanya. Nowadays Israel Adesanya is here. He's just not the same man anymore. This is not a prime Israel Adesanya. This is Israel Adesanya now. I think he just lost that dog in him. He's not the same guy anymore. He has had probably more than 100 fights. Age caught up to him. He reached everything. He went for a double champ status. He was one of the best middleweight champions of all time. And now it's done. He simply does not have the chin that he had. Those fights against Pereira. Just imagine having to fight Pereira 4 times in your fighting career. That's already so much damage. And now it's done. No, he's just not in. He might still have technically the technique, but he just does not have that hunter's philosophy or mindset. So this man just cannot utilize his abilities anymore. It seems to be done for him, but we'll see. Maybe he changes something, but I'm not sure. Wonder Boy nowadays also seems to be done, maybe slightly above average. Yeah, I would put him here. He's more than 40 years old, and even though he has had pretty good moments in his last fights against Buckley, I would actually put him higher, because the Buckley nowadays is really good. So he's still pretty good. I would assume that he will still be able to beat many good guys. But his best days are gone. The speed, the technical advantages, the power, they seem to fade away. Or most likely, the durability, it just seems to not be there. Jack Della Maddalena. Good fighter. I would put him in a low 8 tier. He has a really crisp boxing, but I think people tend to overestimate his boxing abilities. It is good. He has a good tempo, good timing, good speed. His combinations are really flowing. But I do not think that he's as good as people say. I do not think that he has that much power. I do not even think that his boxing is that good. I still think that he makes mistakes that can be utilized by really good strikers. And at the same time, his wrestling does not really let him to strike as confidently as, for example, Ilya. And also his durability seems to be okay. But I would still assume that this man just needs to be slightly tested more. I want to see more from him to really know where he stands. So far, all of these guys are really tested. And he just, in my eyes, still needs to be tested more. Yuri Prochaska. Well, interesting one. Really interesting one. I think he goes to low A tier also. Super dangerous. Can knock you out with everything. He just goes there to finish you. But at the same time, his defense is just super questionable. He does some weird stuff that can be used for your own advantage if you are a really high level elite striker, and we have seen that. But no, nevertheless, this man is super dangerous. He has a really good build for fighters, long limbs, good durability, really nice flow, and he can also grapple well enough to feel comfortable in the striking exchanges. But the fight against Glover, I mean, this man was basically losing against an old man in a striking exchanges. Yeah, I cannot put him higher than where because of that. Cyril Gane. I think this man has been overrated and now he's underrated because he had a couple of not very good fights, but in a heavyweight he needs to be at least in a tier. Like, the way he moves, I think I would even put him higher than JDM. His footwork is simply beautiful. He is also quite durable. The way he fights, it just looks like most of the fights that he won, it looked like he was never in a problem. You know, he never really had problematic moments. It felt like he was always in a control, and that is something that if you can reach in a heavyweight, that shows that you are truly an elite. Yeah, because of that I would even put him higher than many fighters. Yeah, I'm gonna actually go here higher than Leon Edwards. The calmness and the ability to win fights without putting yourself in a super dangerous situations is something that needs to be valued. Kevin Holland, high B tier. Lots of power, nice speed, sometimes good timing, but man is simply not serious enough, and his techniques are cartoonish. You know, not very efficient, but still very dangerous man. You know, in a welterweight he seemed to be pretty good. Now he also had a couple of decent wins, but there is not really that much progression that I would like to see from him. He just mentally does not seem to be locked in. I think he's a very talented individual, but he does not use all of the tools that he had given to him, and because of that he simply does not deserve to be higher than a B tier. Nowadays I think Kevin Holland would be better than Wonderboy, so I'm gonna put him higher than him. Jan Blachowicz. Jan goes to A tier. I would say low A tier. You know, a good fighter, but the age is catching up to him. He has still lots of power. He has managed to break many fighters. But nowadays, I really would like to see a bit more from him. So because of that, I'm gonna put him in a low A tier. Ian Gary. No one really likes this guy. I mean, I don't like him that much, but he's good. You know, he manages to. I mean, he beat the MVP. You know, that's needs to be put in a A tier. He's not really that good in a way that his boxing does not seem to be super nice, does not have that much power, but he uses his range and distance well, and he's not a one punch KO artist maybe, but he still has lots of fight IQ. He uses his abilities to win the fights, striking exchanges, defense is okay, offense is pretty good. He has been dropped, but other than that, seems to be using all of his advantages quite well. Strickland. Yep. Strickland, I think, needs to be going in a high A tier. Strickland definitely needs to be in a high A tier. This man has a Philly shell style, and I think he's the only fighter that uses Philly shell in UFC, MMA, and he just manages to be super effective with it. Yeah, he lost some fights against Dricus du Plessis, but other than that, the man beat almost the prime Adesanya, with his weird Philly shell style and weird defense. And he's just so efficient, he does not get tired, he's quite durable, or his defense is really good. Yeah, that would be a better way to say. And he had wars with so many fighters, like Cannonier, Imavov, beat all of them. He is very fast, he does not telegraph his punches, he puts constant pressure on you, and at the same time he has a tremendous distance management. This man is one of the best strikers in the UFC, and I love watching him. I don't like him as a person, I think he's actually boring, you can predict what he's gonna say almost every time, but what I like about him is that his fighting style is so intelligent. As a man, he's not an intelligent man. He's a very dumb person. But as a fighter, he's almost a genius. He's so efficient, so calculated. He just breaks you down slowly and breaks you down. And he can fight with a style on the highest level. He's so unique with his fighting style. I like him as a fighter a lot, and I enjoy watching him. He's not my favorite fighter, but I do enjoy watching him. Pereira, now this should not really be discussed that much. I'm really thinking, where should I put him? I'm not putting him above Ilya. Even though Pereira is technically a better striker, his achievements are better. In MMA, Ilya is a better striker. But I'm thinking if I should put him above or below O'Malley. And I'm actually gonna put him below Sean O'Malley as a striker. Now, don't get me wrong. His achievements in kickboxing and striking generally is higher, of course, than O'Malley. If you're gonna let them fight, O'Malley is dead in 10 seconds. But pound per pound, I do think that O'Malley has a more dangerous striking in bantamweight. Alex Pereira has that unique fighting style where he has a deft touch, but at the same time, this man's defense has been questionable over his MMA run. Basically, against Adesanya, he has been flatlined. Against Magomed Ankalaev, he also got hurt. Against Jan Blachowicz, such a close fight, even though striking exchanges he was winning. Still very close fight. Because of that, I believe that I trust Sean O'Malley striking more. If you're gonna tell me that Sean O'Malley will strike with any bantamweight in the world, just strike with them, I do believe he's gonna have an advantage. I do believe that he's gonna be able to win them quite easily. Now, it's hard to compare because, of course, in bantamweight it's harder to get knocked out compared to light heavyweight, where everyone has lots of power. But still, Sean O'Malley just seems to have better defense, more sound, more precision in his defense, more precision in his distance management. And also he just seems to be more durable at his weight class, that I think he just is overall a more dangerous fighter. Merab is an animal, he's a machine. He has been destroying almost everyone for years. And still Sean O'Malley managed to put one really good kick in his stomach that hurt Merab a lot. While Alex Pereira in his last fight, he did not really have any good moments at all. So technically, Pereira should be a better striker as an athlete, but as an MMA striker, no. I do believe Sean O'Malley is better. Sean O'Malley has basically never been finished with his striking. If we, okay, Marlon Vera, we said he has been finished once, but even that, the second fight really showed that it was more of a freak accident, you know. So I would assume, I personally would trust Sean O'Malley's striking ability more than Pereira's, because Pereira is so, it's gonna be more exciting, more entertaining in a way that he's gonna be knocking out most likely his opponents with super punch or something, but he also gets exposed so much. Against Roundtree, he also got dropped, you know, and you don't really see Sean O'Malley in those exposed positions that often, the way you see Pereira. So he goes to third place in this list. That's it.